Hey there, Heather Freeman here with the Painted Playground. So glad you're joining me today. Painting a beautiful flower using a round paintbrush. Wanted to show you a couple of fun techniques to use with your round paintbrush. And yeah, so I love to get on here and show you an inside peek to my studio and some new techniques and fun ways to play with acrylic paints. So this is for those folks that really have that inner desire to create and to have fun with their paints. So glad you're joining me today. And I'm painting this little rose. And actually I wanted to find my scissors. Kind of going with a different shape. I love using my Canson mixed media paper. It's a heavier weight paper and it can take acrylic paints, watercolors. You could collage with this paper. It's a nice heavier weight paper, and so I like to use this. This is kind of a smaller sized one that I use from time to time, and it's easy. It has perforated pages, so you can pull out pages, or you can paint right in it, which I often like to do. So I'm making this little guy. I meant to cut down this page before I got started, but that's okay. So I can work with a square piece today. And I often suggest playing around with paper and not worrying about the canvas, because in my paint challenges we paint on canvases, of course, but when you're just playing around and you're starting out and maybe it's been a while since you've been to the canvas, there's no need to go all in with canvases. You can start out just playing with paint using paper and really whatever you have at home, if that's what works best right now. So, I love to use the mixed media paper, but you could grab a piece of cardstock or computer paper. So really whatever works and whatever you have around. So this guy, I'm using a medium pointed paintbrush, and I have what I would consider a larger one. Let me see the number. I can't see the number on this one is a 10, and this one, I think this one's a 6. So a couple different sizes, gives you room to play. And I am going to start out, let's pop this little guy up so you can see it. I thought this would be perfect to show you today, because you could easily do this at home and pop it in a card and send it out to somebody. If you're somebody that loves to make art and send it out and share it with people, this would be a great one to do. You can write a little message on the back and send it out to somebody today. So let me know, is that something that you like to do? I love making art and sharing it with people, and so surprising people with little things that I make is really fun for me. So I need to get my water a little bit closer. All right. And then I've got a few different colors out. I'm playing with a magenta and a blue. I'm going to mix those up to make a nice purple. I think I'm going to start with my smaller paintbrush. And I'm just going to mix a little bit together to get a nice purple. And if you're just starting out, there is no need to mix colors, but it's always, hey Melissa, how you doing? Glad to see you here. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my big flower here, which is so fun to make, and I am putting it in with a dark purple, and I'm going to layer in those colors. And this is so fun, and I'm not worrying. I'm using my whole arm. I'm going to dip back and forth into my paint. Sorry if that's making a lot of noise. And it's just really fun just to smush it in. I'm not worried about what it looks like at this point. Just getting that general shape in. And again, you can see I'm using my whole arm, so I'm not sitting here going like this because this is going to make a tight, more controlled look, and I want a nice loose flower. That's cool. So really my first tip in using your paintbrush is to play around with the mark. And this one, I'm just laying down the color and making a nice big circle. And then I'm going to go over it. I'm going to make a bit of a pink. So I'm going to rinse out before I go over to my pink. So tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where you guys are watching from today. So I have some silver down. Sometimes I make a pink with white, but I'm playing a little bit with my silver today. So we're going to mix some red and some silver, get a little bit lighter of a color. And so again, I'm just going to use my paintbrush and I'm going to make some nice big circles around. And I don't mind, I'm actually kind of doing some little strokes here just to kind of mimic that shape and start to lay in that color. And I want to see some of that purple underneath. I love that when I can oh, you're coming in from Kentucky. Hey Melissa, how are things in Kentucky? All right. So I'm going to go from the center of my flower out to the edges and back again. And I love texture. So I love seeing the paintbrush marks. So when I lay my color down, I am not worried about getting that smooth. But if that's something that makes you happy, then smooth it out and do what you need to do. But I love the marks of the paintbrush. So I love keeping those colors in there, those paint strokes. So I'm going to go ahead and add a layer from the middle of my flower. And I want that to be a nice deep purple. And I oftentimes will just go back and forth with color and with paint strokes. Like that. I'm going to leave that in there. And so that's the second thing actually that I love to do. And it's another tip for using your paintbrush. You know, the first one was to really lay down that mark, just play around with that mark. There's so many different ways that you can push paint around. This one, I'm just simply taking, you know, that first step was taking it and swirling it around. And I love to mush and smush paint, so I do that a lot. But play around and see what makes you happy. And then the second thing you can do is play with layering. So I just layered some purple on top, and I did rinse out my paintbrush for that, but I don't always. And let's see, let me grab some greens. We'll put in a few of our leaves. And I can show you another way to make a mark with our pointed paintbrush. So the first one, you know, I really kind of I loaded up my paintbrush and I really smushed that paint around. Hey Lisa, from Minnesota, right on. So happy to see you. Let's see, let's put in a little stem here. Maybe let's put in some leaves. So this is another way that you can lay down paint using your paintbrush. You can use that tip and make the point of your leaf. For more of a precision line. And then the more pressure you put down on your paintbrush, you know, the thicker that line becomes. Let's maybe put one over here. You see that okay? And let's see, maybe one more up here. It's always nice when you can go off the page, kind of gives your eye, creates movement in your painting. So not everything has to fit on the canvas. And one right up here. A smaller leaf. It's good to vary the sizes of your shapes, so you don't want all your leaves to be the same size. And then the third way of kind of playing around with your paintbrush is to pick up several colors. You can pick up more than one color and play around with how that works on the canvas. So for instance, I'm going to pick up, let's do a little bit of, got my, oops, this is not rinsed out. I don't want mud. Not today, not right now. So just make sure your paintbrush is nice and clean. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of my pink that I made over here. And I'm going to dip it straight into my white and pick up some white. And I'm just going to play around, and I'm going to see how those two colors come out on my canvas. So I want to add some little highlights here. And this makes me happy because those colors kind of smush together. It just feels more organic and playful to be able to smush these colors around. And you can see how that really just gives it a different look than if it was just a plain, you know, all one color. I might come back in here, over here. Could really play around all day with this. Just kind of coming back and forth and playing around with the shape, the colors. I might just dip in and just make a little highlight of white there. I'm going to add a little bit more to my leaves. I laid down that first color, but I want to give them a little bit more. There we go. So this is really fun, just to kind of cut up a piece of paper, work with a shape that you don't normally work with. This is definitely a smaller canvas to work on, but you can really play around and see what happens. And if you don't like it, you know, it's just a small piece of paper. You can pick up another one and play around some more. Add a little bit more to my stem. Maybe some little highlights on my leaves. A little white. Pop a little bit. Okay. So those were three ways that you can play with your paintbrush. You can play with the mark with your paintbrush. You can play with layering color. So I started out with that dark purple flower and then transformed it into more of a pink white flower as I layered up. And then you can play with loading the paint on your paintbrush. So play around with different colors. Load up a couple of different colors, see what happens, smush it on your canvas, and play around and have some fun with it. So thanks for joining me today. If you find this helpful and you think someone else could find it helpful as well, please feel free to pass this along. And I invite you to join me in our free Facebook group. Paint some flowers, show me what you do, and would love to see it there. So everybody have a great day, and I'll see you next time at the canvas. All right, bye for now.